G'day there guys, bases his self-worth on what time he gets out of bed in the morning here. Back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love this content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy this bloody good content. Posted by user, deleted. Titled, Am I the a-hole for laughing at my son's girlfriend when she asked me to pay her compensation for the money I spent on my other grandchild? I have two grandchildren. One is 7 and the other is 5. The 7-year-old is the child of my daughter, and I do have more access to her, but despite what my son's girlfriend accuses me of, I do not have a favorite. The 7-year-old does beauty pageants. They are completely her choice, but she saw pictures from her mother and I doing them and begged to be in them. She also rides horses. Combined, this is very expensive and I pay for it all. I've offered and I'm happy to do so. My son's girlfriend is morally opposed to pageants and afraid of horses. Her daughter is asked to do what her cousin does, but isn't allowed to. She does t-ball and music lessons, which I also pay for, but they are significantly cheaper than what the 7-year-old does. The other day, my son's girlfriend brought up this favoritism, and I said this isn't favoritism, because I pay for 2 activities for both of them. She said it is going to give her daughter a complex, so I need to even the money off and put the rest in a savings account. My husband and I laughed because that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and she stormed out of the house. My son actually said I should post this because he's conflicted, afraid of her. So, am I the a-hole? I wouldn't say so, no. That's just stupid logic coming out from that woman, and, if she wants to put that money into a savings account to make up the difference herself, she's more than welcome to. I feel like this is just a quick cash grab and she needs to get over herself. OP is not the a-hole. This woman is delusional. Your granddaughter needs loving grandparents who are active in her life, not your money. And your son needs to put his foot down and tell his girlfriend to knock off her crap. And she is going to be the one to give her daughter a quote-unquote complex if she is constantly talking about the money difference between granddaughters. Your granddaughter is a child. There's no way she'd either know or think about how differently expensive the 2 sets of activities are unless her mum is putting that in her ear. You can always remind her mum that you offered to pay for the same activities, but as she refused, you'd still happily provide for the alternatives, but she needs to lay off about the financial difference as it was her restrictions. Agreed. Kid probably doesn't even understand the concept of money, and you'll still happily provide for the alternatives, correct to a certain point. Hobbies and similars should be what the kids like. If you say this, she'll understand that OP will pay for any hobbies, and the mother will likely pick a very expensive one that she wants the kid to do, not what the kid would like to do. The younger daughter wants to do pageants and horseback riding though. OP was willing to pay for it, but the mother said no for her own reasons, very likely choosing daughter's current activities herself. Not the a-hole. It is very generous for you to pay for your grandchildren's activities. Paying for the same number of activities is fair. It is not your decision which activities the kids are participating in, and the child who is in less expensive activities will only get a complex if her parents tell her about the money discrepancy. Otherwise, she'll never know that her cousin's thing costs more. The children shouldn't even know who pays for their hobbies. Posted by user SaltUnderstanding7. Titled, Am I the a-hole for throwing out my mum after she threw out my weed? So I'm a 30-year-old man. I'm single and live alone in a house that I own. A few months ago, you know what happened, and my mum lost her job. So I decided to let her stay with me. I have a medical marijuana card and smoke every day. I knew my mum disliked weed, so I warned her before she moved in that I would be smoking weed daily and would not stop for her. She agreed, and only asked that I smoke weed outside, which I thought was a relatively reasonable request. Weed has a strong smell and many people don't like it. At first, this worked out fine, at first. But she started making remarks about how I should quit, etc. I mostly just ignored them and brushed them off. Then, it evolved to her demanding that I quit, as if I was still a child she could issue orders to. I refused and told her that she can move out if she doesn't like it. She started crying and saying that I don't love her, that I have a problem, etc. The next day, I come home from work to find her waiting for me. She explained that she had flushed my weed, a little less than an ounce, down the toilet for my own good, and then demanded that I go to treatment. Well, predictably, I was furious, and not even really about not having weed anymore. It's pretty cheap, like I usually buy ounces for $125, and I can easily get more. It was about her total lack of respect for me. I'm an adult, I own my own house, have a good job, and have approval from the state to legally purchase and possess marijuana. So someone I'm doing a huge favor for demanding that I stop and throwing out my stuff when I refused is extremely outrageous to me. No matter if she pushed me out of her vagina 30 years ago. Anyway, we argued about this for a while, and it became clear to me that she was not sorry at all, and that she would probably do it again. So, I told her she can't live with me anymore. I gave her a month, but she's already packed all her crap and drove to my brother's house a couple hours away. She obviously thinks I'm a huge a-hole, and so does my brother, but I think that's mostly because she is his problem now. Crazy how throwing out someone else's property can lead you to being kicked out like that. Man, oh god, I have free reign over my son just because I birthed him. Yeah, I'm so smart. It's pretty apparent here that OP is not the a-hole. I support your decision to kick her out if she's not going to respect you. It's, not the best time to do it. Obviously, you'll get a lot of people saying you're an a-hole for doing it during the current crisis, but she has the brother to live with a few hours away, and now she's his problem. Not the a-hole. It wouldn't even matter if you smoked purely recreationally. You're an adult. You have your own home and your own life. Her approval isn't necessary. It sounds like she might be trying to over-parent you because moving in with you upset the power dynamic that you're used to. Good job setting the boundary and enforcing it. Not the a-hole. I, 28 female, own my own house, have a decent paying job, and have all my debt paid off. Smoking pot is still illegal in my state. I, however, don't care. I'm not 16 anymore, and I don't have to revert to keeping it in my car anymore. I can literally keep it wherever I want in my house. My mum and dad don't like that I smoke pot. They hate it a lot and don't understand why I do it. I usually tell my mum, because she likes to drink, that it's like my glass of wine at the end of the night. I don't really like to drink because a lot of people in my family are alcoholics, and since I actually enjoy the occasional drink, I don't want to ruin that freedom by becoming an alcoholic. Anyways, my parents understand that I am an adult, and just like when I lived in their house, you live and come to my house, you live under my rules. You honestly need to talk to your mum about boundaries. Just because she's your mother, or anyone in your family for that matter, does not mean they get to ignore your boundaries. Family doesn't get immunity from boundaries that you set for yourself. How would she like it if she threw her stuff away just because you didn't like it and thought she had a problem? The double standard around weed in the US is bonkers. People will judge those who smoke recreationally, but drinking multiple nights a week or even daily, gifting bottles of alcohol, office happy hours, and the like are all no problem, despite overwhelming evidence that weed is a less harmful and dangerous substance than alcohol. Even in legal states, you can still lose your job for using cannabis due to federal prohibition. Even in legal states, there are laws prohibiting you from smoking on front porches or areas that are visible to the street, despite the fact that there are not similar laws limiting adults from visibly consuming alcohol on their own property. We need legalization on the federal level and massive re-education around our drug policy. It may be too late for the reefer madness generation, but lumping marijuana into the same category as meth and heroin is incorrect for so many reasons, and not how we should be educating future generations about responsible substance use. Not the a-hole, your house, your rules. If she can't follow the rules, she's gotta go. Good for you for setting boundaries. I'm constantly amazed by the number of people on Am I the A-hole who give free housing to people who throw out their stuff. If a house guest is not working and is getting free housing, they should be helping out around the house, cleaning, cooking, doing chores, etc., not snooping through personal belongings, making demands, or throwing away stuff. Posted by user What the Hell Mum 123, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mum to stay out of my sex life? I, 23 female, am gay. I came out to my family when I was 18, and my family reacted pretty well. Sometimes my mum will say like low-key homophobic things, but it's really whatever. I've been dating a girl, 23 female, let's call her Kay, for about 3 years now, and I took her home to meet my parents last week. My parents like her, and all, which is good, but this is the convo my mum, Kay, and I had last night. We were all sitting in the living room, and she randomly says, "So, who's the man in the relationship?" What? Who's the man, during sex? What the actual hell kind of question is that? I'm your mother, I have the right to know about you. No, you don't. Why would you want to know anything about your daughter's sex life? What's wrong with you? Kay, you'll tell me. Which one of you is the man and which one is the woman? Are you the man? Yep, okay, so me and Kay are tired, we're gonna go to bed, Mum. So Kay and I stand up and start walking up the stairs. Mum says, "It's just a simple question. Why does it matter so much?" I tell Kay to wait on the stairway and I go back down to my mum. The fact that you want to know about my sex life is so weirdly disturbing that I don't even know what to say. What is wrong with you? Jesus fudging Christ. I was so weirded out by my mum doing this that we left that morning to go back to our apartment. My mum has texted me a few times asking me why I left and why I wouldn't answer her questions about my sex life, but I've ignored her. I do feel bad leaving because I haven't seen my parents or my siblings in a while, but what the hell? Am I the a-hole? Edit/update. She called again today, so I picked up. She asked me why I left, and I told her that she was asking weird questions and it made us uncomfortable. She then told me that she heard us having sex that night. Confusing because we didn't have sex and my sister is 14 and my brother is 13. When I told her that she definitely didn't hear anything, she told me that it was rude of me to hide stuff like that from her and that she has a right to know. I ended up explaining to her that it was homophobic of her to ask who the man is, but she kept telling me, well, someone has to be the man. Then I kept trying to change the subject, and she got mad and hung up when I wouldn't talk about my sex life. This is pretty confusing because she's never been this interested before. This is the first girlfriend she has actually met, so I assume that has something to do with it. Honestly, I'd love to ask her weirdly inappropriate questions about her sex life back, but she would probably answer them, and I don't want to know that. That just got really weird really fast. I'm gonna go with you're not the a-hole for taking those actions. I think any sane person would do it, or start a fight. I think it's better that you didn't start a huge, argument in the house, and you let things diffuse. Those are really oddly intrusive questions that she has no right asking or knowing, as you've said, and I agree with you. So OP, you are not the a-hole. This was super cringy. Firstly, she's not entitled to information about your personal life, sex included. I can't believe I'm typing this. Secondly, this heteronormization of homosexual relationships is just wrong. What the hell is that question even supposed to mean? You're obviously both women in your relationship. Duh. So I would either go with that or ask her stupid question right back at her. Who's the man and woman in her relationship? Also, even if she were oblivious to all of that, you saying you don't care to answer this question should have been the end of it. Digging her heels in like she did, and even continuing to harass you, makes her the super a-hole. Maybe OP could give her a pair of chopsticks and ask her which one's the fork. Seriously, asking which one is the man is just massively insulting. Like the defining feature of a lesbian relationship is that it's women only, no men allowed. So, who's the man? Neither. That's literally the whole point. That's what we're going for there. That's what I usually say. I have had people try to discuss with me who in a gay couple is the other gender. I'm like, what? And I always just look at them like they're shockingly stupid in complete silence for a while. And then I slowly, in a I don't believe I have to explain this to anyone kind of tone, answer. Neither. They are both men/women, and that's the whole point of homosexuality. That they aren't attracted to the opposite sex, but the same sex. Some people seem to think they can happily discuss this with me because I interact well with other people, regardless of their orientation or gender, and I'm in a heteronormative relationship. as if they think I have insight and won't judge because I'm obviously also straight and think like them. Spoiler, just because I'm married to a man as someone presenting as a woman does not make me straight, and I'm actually not straight at all. I'm queer as hell. You just don't immediately see it. Like, that's even a thing, really. The sentiment in itself comes from the sexist belief that all men and women are supposed to adhere to gender-specific kinks, which is ridiculous since that stuff is decided by a good few thousand mental and genetic factors. Although others said it better, I want to reiterate that in the same-sex relationship, you are still both the woman and there is no man role that needs to be playing in a relationship. I remember being out with my lesbian friends and someone asked them this, and I remember dying of shame that someone would ask this question of them. Literally, they are both women, so there is no man in the relationship. They have sex like two women, not like a woman and a man. Not the a-hole. Posted by user VioletClouds22, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that part of the reason I don't want more than one kid is because of them? I, female 26, have been with my partner, male 25, for 3 years, and recently we've been talking about having a child. The topic came up at my parents' house, and they've commented how nice it'll be for us and them to have kids running around. I gently told them that we're actually only planning to have one child, and all hell broke loose. Apparently, if we only have one child, they'll grow up spoilt, a brat, lonely, etc. We told them that we obviously want to raise he or she to help others and be grateful for what they have, and that they will be able to play with our friends' children. My mum wouldn't let it go and kept telling me that because I'd grown up with siblings, I should know how important it is for the kids to have them. After hours of being told off for ruining my kid's life, before they even exist, I snapped and told my mum that part of the reason I don't want more than one kid is because once they had my brothers, I was pretty much ignored. Growing up, I got good grades, worked, and was pretty responsible, while my brothers were challenging and got in trouble a lot. This meant they took up a lot of my parents' time and attention, and I was just left to my own devices unless they needed an extra parent. They never helped with homework, took me to college visits, came to any of my games, or even really hung out with me because my brothers needed their time more. When I went to college, they asked if I'd mind using the money I earned from work and taking out a loan because they needed to use my college fund to pay off one of my brother's debts, and to get the other one an apartment. It was their money, and they're not entitled to pay for me to go to college, so I said sure. But they then missed my graduation as my brother had a soccer game and only sent me a text. That pattern has continued until this day, to be honest, with forgotten birthdays, etc. I know my parents love me, and I don't blame them, as I know my brothers were high maintenance. But the reason I only want one child is because I want to give them enough attention and make sure they never felt the way I did. I explained all this to my parents, but my mum said I'm an a-hole and that the reason I didn't get attention was because I didn't need it, and I should grow up and stop taking my resentment out on my future kids. So, am I the a-hole? Wow, that's actual serious gaslighting and deflecting on the parents there. Dear Lord, are they just completely unaware of how they made OP feel? That's so heartless to say that. And their actions throughout the years are completely heartless as well. In what universe could OP be the a-hole here? You've been emotionally neglected by your parents. Dear Lord. I think this is a good first step to getting the parents to understand where you're coming from, OP, but I think a lot more work will be needed in the future. If not, possibly just going low contact with them for a while so that you get your own space, because this is going to bring up a lot of bad memories or events from the past, so I don't blame you if you do anything really with this. The ball is in your court, and in my eyes, you are not the a-hole. The reason you didn't get attention was because you didn't need it? She seriously said this? No. Your parents were crappy parents. There was no excuse for that blatant favoritism that went on during your childhood. My parents said the same damn thing. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. I wasn't a wheel, I was a child. I don't talk to them anymore. OP says, "It's a horrible attitude to parenting, and I'm really sorry that you had to hear this too. You don't get to pick and choose which child gets your time and attention. I'm glad you made the decision that was right for you and hope you're doing better. The fact they missed your graduation from college for a lousy soccer game? Are they serious? No, they're crappy parents and the blatant favoritism is overwhelming here. I completely understand OP with that one. My parents made me miss high school finals to go to see my older sister's college graduation several states away. I had no choice. I performed so poorly on my finals that my overall GPA dropped to a 2.5. I was made fun of and treated as if I was stupid at the practice graduation ceremony by one of my peers for such a low GPA. So, you missed your finals completely and got zeros that wrecked your GPA, and you weren't able to reschedule? No. I missed all the review days, the review sheets for the exams, studying with my peers, didn't have time to study between going to the state my sister was in, attending her graduation and going back. I was able to do the tests when I returned to the States. Literally the day after we got back, no time to study. I just lacked all studying, basically. That's psychotic. Who does that to their kid? Hey, we're gonna totally screw over your education to go celebrate your sister's education. Not the a-hole. Your choice, but to be honest, if you have more than one kid, I have zero doubt your experience will ensure that you don't do the same to your kids. I wish I could upvote this more. OP, it is absolutely your choice, and if one kid is all you want and feel comfortable with, then I think that one kid will be well loved and raised right. But you are also in a position where you know exactly what not to do with multiple kids, so you would be able to do it right and not be crappy like your parents. Absolutely not the a-hole, and your parents suck. I'd never thought of it that way, and it's such a good point. I've never considered having more than one, but it's nice to think that if I change my mind, I will at least have some idea of what not to do. Thank you both. I would highly recommend lowering your contact with your parents before kids come into the picture. They're clearly unapologetic and are definitely the a-holes here. Posted by user Lonely Planet Girl. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I'm not ready to meet the person he's seeing only 2 months after my mum passed away? My parents have been together for 40 years. My mum had a cancer diagnosis in February and she passed away in April. I've always been close to my parents and they've always been like friends too. My dad started seeing someone last month, and while I honestly prefer that to him being on his own all of the time, and I have no problem knowing he's spending a lot of time with that woman, I find it very difficult to be around my dad and her. I met her for the first time last week, and I realized that I need more time before being around them together. Maybe that's irrelevant, but that woman is the same age as me, late 30s, and it's a lot for me to process at the same time. A few days ago, I decided to be honest with my dad, and I told him that I needed time. I tried my best to make it clear that I'm not against him seeing someone, and that I do accept that. He can spend all of his time with her if that's what they want. I just need time to be around them as a couple. He got it all wrong, and now he's upset with me. I'm lost. Am I the a-hole? I don't think we can pin you as an a-hole in this one. It is a lot to lose your mum like that. That would obviously take a long time to heal from. But even if this was just a case of divorce and, one parent getting with the partner of another, for a lot of people that's hard for them to see one of their parents with someone else, and that does take a long time to adjust to. So this situation is just that, amplified to the nth degree. And everyone has their own time that they're ready to see things. Some people are never okay with it, and they can never see the parents as a new couple, new structure, and that's completely okay. I think OP just needs to have another sit down with a dad in person and really just explain how they're feeling and why they're feeling this and what's going on there. Because, I can sense a lot of pain coming from this person, and it's okay. Your feelings are valid. But I definitely do not think you're the a-hole. You are not the a-hole at all. This is a very difficult time for you, and it is okay for you to need time to process everything. You don't mean anything mean with it, so take your time. That's exactly it. I'm still trying to realize what happened, because everything went too fast. One day my mum was doing great, no symptoms or anything. The next she gets a scan result, and we learn she's at the final stage. It's so surreal and hard to process. I don't think he's the a-hole either. This is a clearer case of no a-holes here. Unless there's more to the story that hasn't come out, the timing is a bit quick for my taste, but who can judge how someone grieves? And it doesn't sound like he's been too pushy yet on this. But if there's more going on to the story of them dating, or he gets really pushy about you spending time with her, he would become an a-hole. Because you definitely aren't. It felt a bit weird to write this post considering this sub's name, because it's clearly not a question of who is an a-hole in the story. No one is. I'm really just questioning if my reaction is normal or not considering the situation. Like you said, grieving is a different process for everyone, and this is why I respect his choices. I just can't be part of it right now. It's too quick for me. My dad died from cancer 13 years ago. I was 5, and my mum remarried 8 years ago. And at first, I didn't know what to do. She told us he'd proposed. I wasn't even sure if they were dating, to be honest. I was only 10, and asked my sister and I how we felt about it. We both were happy for her because she was happy, but deep down I still wasn't sure, but I never said anything. But my stepdad is a great guy, so it's all good and stuff. I know my situation was different from yours, but it's okay to need time and to take as much time as you need. You're in no way an a-hole, and I'm sure your dad understands that you will need time. Not the a-hole, and honestly super weird in my opinion for him to be dating so soon after his wife's death, and dating someone his daughter's age. Yes, all of it feels weird at the moment, but whatever his grieving process is, I will support it. I just thought he would get that I'm not ready to pretend to be a family again with a stranger. Hey, I just wanted to chime in here. My mum died 5 years ago, and my dad found a new partner about 4 or 5 months afterwards. It was a strange time. My parents had been together for nearly 30, and I couldn't understand how my dad could just move on. But you don't choose when you meet someone, and they've been together ever since, and they've recently had a baby. They're clearly very happy. His new girlfriend is also younger than him by quite a bit, so it's a very similar situation. It took me a while to become accustomed to seeing my dad with another woman, especially as my parents had such a wonderful relationship. But in the end, I'm a grown woman. My dad's girlfriend isn't my stepmom. We have a very different relationship than what I had with my mum, and that makes it easier to understand. We get on really well, and I love having her around, and my dad is happy. Posted by user, to be deleted soon. Titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my stepfather an alcoholic every time he calls my brother a gay? He isn't really my stepdad, as I was 15 when he came into our lives. And I've never seen him as a father to me, especially as my dad is still in the picture. It's just easier to call him my stepfather. So my stepdad and my mum had a baby when I was 17. My brother is now 6 years old and lives together with me, my sister, and our mother in an apartment, so he's the only male in the household. His father lives a 5-minute walk away from us. My brother loves wearing dresses and high heels every once in a while, unicorns and butterflies, loves glitter and pink, and all stuff his father calls girly. But brother also likes cars, trucks, and big machines, play fighting, and stuff like that. My stepfather has a problem with his son liking girl stuff, and that we're raising him to be a gay, since living together with 3 adult women who let him play whatever he wants has a bad influence on him, and he will turn out to be gay. My mother and my sister ignore comments like this from his side, but I usually fire back stuff like, better gay than being an alcoholic, and similar comments mentioning his drinking problem. He lost his job and driver's license due to his addiction a year ago, and doesn't see the problem with it. He's putting our brother in danger. When cycling with our brothers, he'll just be reckless and do dangerous stuff, and my brother will copy him, of course, and shows him how to load a gun, which is also illegal in my country, so he's barely allowed to see his son, especially not alone. My mother and sister think I'm being an a-hole to mention his addiction when he says idiotic stuff like this, and I should just ignore it. But I think he's an a-hole for calling his son a soon-to-be gay. I don't have a problem with his stepdad, and in general, I don't hold a grudge against him. When he's nice and normal, I'm able to talk to him in a friendly tone. I'm only like this when he talks crap about my brother and the LGBTQ community. What do you think? Edit, He never called my brother directly gay or a gay, and my brother never heard those words out of his mouth. He only says that when he's in an argument with our mother, or me and my sister, when my little one isn't there to hear. My mum and sister ignore what he says because he's drunk and they don't want to waste time talking to him when he's like that. I think it's a very clear case of you're not the a-hole, and we really do want to keep that dad away from the son for a while he's still forming in the brain area. Probably a really bad influence to be impacting him. It's not to say that keep him away entirely, it's to say don't let him affect the brother's choices and behaviors so negatively from the get-go, because kids are very impressionable, and teaching him how to load a gun, while it's okay to do that, it doesn't bring the best impression out in a father. Especially in a country where it's not legal to have guns. I can understand America, but if this were Australia and you were back home and they're saying, yeah, I was just teaching my kid how to load a gun, you'd have so many heads in the room turn and be like, do I need to call Child Protective Services on this man? So because of that, not the a-hole. If he has no problem spitting slurs at a literal 6-year-old, then he should be fine with getting called out for being an alcoholic piece of trash. Simple as that. I'm more concerned with the fact that your sister and mother have zero problem with your grown adult stepdad hurling insults at a child, being a worthless alcoholic, and owning an illegal firearm, than you potentially hurting the drunk's baby feelings. Oh no! Oh my god, I missed that this poor boy is 6 years old. It's not right to say that crap to a man of any age, of course, but he's a frickin' baby. There is no right situation in which you should be saying that to someone at that age. Honestly, OP, you're not the a-hole. OP edited and said that he hasn't used the slur directly at him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's heard it. Kids are really perceptive, and if this is said to OP and their family during arguments, I doubt it was done quietly. Poor kid. Definitely not the a-hole. Giving him a dose of his own medicine. If he can't be respectful to a child, he can't be respected in my opinion. Keep looking out for your brother, he needs you and will need you in the future, if only to have someone who understands and supports him and allows him to be fabulous. I will say be careful. Stepdad seems volatile and provocation could end very badly, for you and for your fabulous brother. Exactly this. He seems like he could get violent if his homophobic fears are ever proven to be true, or if he suspects that your brother is too close with a friend. Watch him and keep him away from your brother. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying, Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.